This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, you are encouraged to like and share them on Facebook. When you find this show on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button, because Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie at this time presents the African American Scene with Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. My, do we have a lot of stuff going on. We have a lot of stuff going on. I got to tell you, though, I went back last week in between shows, and I pulled up my May show. And I predicted in May that there was going to be some disturbances because the frustration was growing. Now, before you start, I am not for looting, and I'm not for rioting, and I'm not for damaging people's property. I am not endorsing that, and I oppose that. But I'm telling you, I told you in May this was coming. I could feel the frustration and the tension growing from African Americans all around, from my friends. And I got friends all up and down the East Coast. I got friends in the Midwest. I got friends on the West Coast. And just in dialogue with them, I could just sense the growing frustration, you know. And I don't expect for all of you to understand. I think some of you will understand, but just to give you a sensation, I may have said this last week, and if I did, forgive me. But when I saw that man get shot in the back 7 times, the tears rolled down my face. I was just overwhelmed with grief at the sight of that. 'Cause I don't care. You can call me up and come up with every excuse in the world you want to come up with. There is no earthly reason why that man had to be shot in the back, and I don't care what his record was beforehand, because nobody knew that at the time. So don't come with that garbage, because that's one of the famous tricks that conservatives like. Oh, he was a bad guy. Oh, because so he was a bad guy, it was okay to shoot him 7 times in the back? No. And there was 2 other officers there. There was enough manpower to restrain that man physically. And you can call up and argue with me all you want about that, 340-1590. That's 340-1590. I just want to tell you, I just finished reading another book. I think I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. Dying of Whiteness by Jonathan Metzl. What makes this book so interesting, and it's called Dying of Whiteness in case you want to look it up. What makes this book so interesting is he goes to 3 areas: Missouri, Tennessee, and Lord, I just can't. The third one escaped my brain. And he does a interview with people trying to determine why they've taken some of the positions that they've taken when those positions seem to be hurting them. While their politics tells them that they should take the position that they take, the positions that they take end up hurting them. And he goes through a long description and explanation, and he provides statistical data showing how some of the positions they've taken have hurt them. And we got Bob on line 1. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're on, Bob.
Hello?
Yes, yes.
Could you please explain to me what you saw during that shooting or before the shooting of that fellow?
Okay, listen, here's what I'm going to tell you I saw. I saw the same thing you saw, okay? But what I'm going to say to you is this. It's very simple, not complicated at all. He had his 3 kids in the car.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so when he was going to the car, as I think any parent would, he was probably going to calm them down since there was police officers all around the car. So I'm sure that he looked into the car to make sure his kids were okay. Now, Bob, you can come at me with what you want to say, but if you got 3 grown men, unless you're trying to restrain the Incredible Hulk, 3 grown men could take down this 29-year-old.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did your dad, I know you had parents, I know you've got a good family going yourself, your son, I've heard you mention them before.
Yes.
If the law official asked you to stop, would you keep going? Or would you obey their rules?
If I was in that situation and with my young son in the car, I would have probably tried to make sure my young son was okay. I wouldn't have tried to run away, but I probably would have tried to make sure my son was okay, and then I would have turned around and addressed the officer. Yes, that's what I would have done. I'm sure of it.
You couldn't have told the officers, I've got children in the car.
We don't know whether he did or didn't.
That's right, and they don't know, supposedly, whether he had kids in the car or not, but the point being...
They did know.
How did they know?
Because they were on the other side of the car, and they were looking into the car.
Oh, I didn't see that either.
Okay. He came from one side of the car to the other side of the car.
That I remember, after he was tased and he just kept going.
Yeah, okay, but I won't argue that point with you either. What I'm going to say to you, though, Bob, is very simply this. Can you think of any reason why 3 grown men could not have restrained him? Can you just answer that for me? Just answer that. Just answer that for me. That's
okay.
a very simple question.
I'm not positive, but I think one of those 3 grown men was a woman.
Well, could those 3 officers have restrained that man who was not a giant-sized person? He was a moderate-sized guy. Do you think those 3 officers could have restrained that guy?
Yeah, the way I was brought up, and I bet you
No. You got to answer the question first.
Sir?
I'll answer the question about the way I was brought up. I'll gladly answer that. But I just want you to answer. Do you think those 3 officers could have restrained him?
Respect authority.
Do you think the 3 officers could have restrained him?
I thought they had him down on the ground at one time. Is that true or not?
I don't know about that.
Okay. That's before he got tased. They had him down on the ground.
Okay. Do you know that to be a fact?
No, I'm sure you can check it out faster than I can.
Well,
but I think that's what happened. He got up from them, walked around the front of the car. That I did see. And I'm sure they were probably telling him to stop.
Bob, I'm going to ask you again for the 4th time. Do you think 3 officers could have restrained him?
Have you ever fought with anybody that was on meth?
You're speculating now that he was on meth?
Right. See, now there you go again.
That's not a fact check, this stuff.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying some people.
No, answer the question. It's not a hard question. Do you think 3 officers could have restrained this moderately built man?
You know, I'm still trying to figure out how a little running back can get through 300-pound linemen.
Bob, you're still dodging the answer.
All I just wanted to say is I was wondering if you were brought up with...
I'm not answering any more questions until you answer my question. Do you think 3 police officers could have restrained this moderately built man?
Apparently not.
So, you don't think they could have?
Apparently they couldn't because he got up and kept going, even after supposedly he was tased.
Bob, that's just ridiculous because you and I both know the man had him by his T-shirt. He could have yanked him by his T-shirt,
I don't think that shirt was going to take much yanking, and there was supposedly a knife in the floorboard of the car.
But he didn't have the knife on him when he went into the car, but it was on the floorboard. So all you had, you first of all, listen, I'm going back to the same thing. He had his hand on his shirt. He could have pulled him back out of the car. And let's put all of that aside.
See, you missed me.
Let's just put all of that aside. Do you think, let's just say he didn't follow the orders that you think he should have followed. Let's just say that. Wait. Let me finish. Let's just say you're right. He didn't follow the orders he should have followed. Do you think the resulting verdict should be 7 shots in the back? Is that a fair response for not following a request? Oh, you can't answer that.
Yes, I can. No. Yes, I can.
Okay, well, what's the answer?
Supposedly this man...
Don't tell me about his past.
No, I don't know anything about his past.
Okay.
But supposedly this man could get up with 3 people holding him down and being shot with
you didn't see that. You didn't see that. You didn't see that. You did not. You did not see that.
When he got in that car,
you didn't see that.
He could have come up with anything.
You didn't
and
see
used
that.
it on.
You didn't see that.
The first officer.
The officer clearly saw his hands. Okay, you didn't see. Listen, I'm going to thank you for your call. I got 2 more calls on the line.
I wish you'd ask some of your other customers here what they think of what we were talking about.
Okay,
respect.
All right. Okay,
respect.
I get the respect thing. Okay, we got Steve on line 2. Yes, Steve.
Hey, Steve. Oh, hold on. Steve's actually on line 3.
Yes, Steve.
That was. I used to be a police officer, and they had a hold of him. There was no way he was going anywhere. He was checking on the kids. They knew the kids were in the car. You can hear it on the film, the kids screaming. So what is this lunatic fringe guy calls up? And it's, you get the death penalty because the cop says stop and you don't? You know, you only have to obey a legal order. Do we know if it was legal? This guy wants to get that technical. I'll tear him apart on technicalities. But it's the lunatic fringe like him that keep this stuff going. Are you an American or are you a communist sympathizer? Which is it? You know, that's what I would have asked the guy. Because there's peaceful Americans out protesting, and here comes a bunch of trucks with paper spray and shooting paintball. And then the president says, well, it's okay. A little paint ain't going to hurt you. What happens if we unload on the president with paintball guns? You think they'd do anything?
Yeah.
Be in prison for life.
Steve,
this is ridiculous, and it's going to stop. It's got to stop.
It's got to stop.
People have got to get off their butt and vote.
It's got to stop.
Get rid of these clowns, these lunatics, and get them back into the mental health program and get them on medication.
Steve, I'm just going to say this. I'm glad you heard the same. The guy was looking in on his kids. He asked me what would I have done, and I'm sure, beyond the shadow of a doubt, I would not have ran, but if I saw my kids in the car upset because they're surrounded by police officers, I'm going to check on my kid first. I ain't running I'm not going to run anywhere.
Absolutely. You should have asked him, What about the film of the kids being taken out of a car? Not in that instance, another instance.
Oh, yeah.
And put on the ground and handcuffed, and they were like 5 and 6 years old.
I know.
And screaming. What was it? 240-pound cop scared of the 6-year-old? What was he, a ninja?
Yeah, I saw.
This is getting out of hand, and it's got to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is if people stand up and say, enough is enough.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Faithful listener. We got Danny on line 3. Yes, Danny.
Hey, can you hear me, Rudy?
Yes, I can.
Bless you, man. How's your week?
Good, good.
Good. So here's the deal, what I always say. I love your conversations. And you know what? My right out the gate answer is yes. These police officers might have done things differently, and they probably should have.
Okay.
In the height of where we are, in the height of all the other instances, and when these things are hitting. Now, I have good police friends, and, in the heat of battle, I don't know the journey. I don't know all the facts. I don't know what was going on with the domestic violence prior with the 2 young ladies. A lot of circumstances. I don't know if there were prior arrests. I don't know if there were, we don't know the whole story. And so when you spark the conversations like this, the debates are what the media shows us. And I think a lot of us just run wild with it, right? Whether we're prejudiced, not prejudiced, and we look at the facts, right? And so my opinion is that when I watched when President Trump was in Wisconsin, and he was in a meeting with the police, the senators, and then the African-American pastor and his wife. And I was so moved, Rudy, by the pastor that spoke and prayed. President Trump asked him to pray, and he prayed such a powerful prayer. And he really brought unity in the room, unity amongst blacks and whites, Indians, the whole thing. And I think we really need to shift and focus more on how do we resolve these things like you are, and really look at everything. Everybody needs to look at themselves within and find out where we need healing within us. Police officers are on the front lines every day. They have families. They have COVID. They have mortgages. They have everything we all deal with. They're humans just like us, right? So
absolutely.
The tempers, how they were brought up, are they racist? Yeah, there's a few. It just takes one to spoil a whole bunch, right? So I would say that we need to unite. I was so moved again by this African-American pastor. He was just beautiful. And when I hear that, and when I see that, it brings tears to my eyes because that's truly what we need to do. We need to unite. This isn't about a black and white issue, although the media put it there, and although in the height of everything going on, it definitely appears that way. But I got to stick up for my police. I got to stick up for my brothers, my sisters. I got to stick up for all of us to unite. Let's try to focus on what positive can come out of this. Maybe he'll be used in his life as such a powerful young man, paralyzed, or if God chooses to heal him, that would be beautiful. But, he can have a turnaround. He can have an incredible impact on youth, white, black, Indian. And I just applaud you again for bringing this up. But some of these guys that get on, they argue, man, it isn't worth your time. It really isn't.
Well, thank you, sir. Well, I want you to listen to this next piece. I'm going to read a letter that I picked up on Facebook that really, really moved me, and I posted it, and it moved a lot of my friends.
I want to hear it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Folks, this letter, I got so many people that liked it and contacted me, let me know how important this letter was to them. So here we go. This is from Noel Palmer. I have been hesitant to talk about my son through all of this, and this letter is dated June 17th. I did not want to use his blackness as a platform. Being an adoptive mother of a black son does not give me any firsthand knowledge or experience of what it's like to live in black skin, even when we have had our encounters with racism. I had the power of my white privilege to stand up for my rights. I do have a secondhand knowledge, so to speak, as a witness of racial profiling, and the secondary pain of one who loves my son. However, as I see so much pushback of those scrambling to continue to blame black people for their encounters with law enforcement, I wanted to share a couple stories with the hope that scales can be lifted. My family moved to a new home after my husband was relocated. He purchased a home that had been empty for about 6 months. We arrived the day before the moving truck to prep the home. I was inside painting, and my 14-year-old son was raking the leaves in the front yard. Within the first hour of my son out in front, I hear the sound of cars racing down the street. I go outside and I find 3 squad cars parked in my driveway and police rushing out of the car. I had no fear of the police, as why would I? And I walk right up to them and I inquire what is going on. I could clearly see the moment they saw me, I saw their faces and changed demeanor. Instant calm. They explained that somebody called to report that there was somebody at this house who are not supposed to be there. All I had to do was say I was the new owner, and they took my word for it and left. So many questions. Why did the person who called assume that a 14-year-old child raking leaves was up to no good, breaking some kind of crime that merited calling the police? Why 3 squad cars in response to a 14-year-old raking leaves? Why did my presence instantly calm them? Why did they simply take my word that I was the new homeowner without asking for proof? I will leave those deductions for others to derive. Another day, while driving on the open road, I sped up to pass a car. In the process of doing so, I was driving over the speed limit. Perfect place, perfect time, passed right by. As the officer cautiously approached my window, I already had my license out and was holding it to the window. She didn't take it. Instead, she was looking at my passenger, my 15-year-old passenger. She asked me, "Are you okay, ma'am?" She stared at him with a look I had never seen in an officer before. It was like she was afraid. Again, I gestured for her to take my license. She asked me for my passenger's driver's license. I had said clearly that he is only 15 years old and does not have a license. She then asked for his student ID. I said it was a Sunday and he does not have it with him. I explained, and he is my son. She then requested his Social Security number. Had I known what I know now, I would have protested in that instance, but I was so confused, I was not used to this kind of police interaction. I provided his Social Security number. The 2 officers proceeded to go back to the car. For 45 minutes, we sat there waiting while they ran a background check, checking not on me, but rather on my son. This became clear when they provided me with information about my son when returning to the car. I stated, "I would like to get out of my car and speak with you." Hand back on the gun, asking again, "Are you okay, ma'am?" I said, "I am fine, but would like to step out of the car and speak with you." They allowed me, and I again was able to use my whiteness as a privilege and power to confront them on the racial profiling with no fear of retaliation. So many questions. Why was the assumption that I was in danger and in need of help? Why was the focus on a 15-year-old child when I was the one who broke the law? These are only two events of the many where my son was under scrutiny for no reason other than the color of his skin. My son was considered a threat or assumed to be was doing wrong based on the color of his skin. My skin vouched for him. My skin made him okay. My skin was the power to push back against racial profiling and inequality. My skin. In all my interactions with law enforcement, I have been able to reason with, and I have been listened to. My word and report have been considered and accepted. Even in instances related to my work in crisis situations, I have been able to use my power to push back when I feel the officers were not handling the situation appropriately, and they have backed down. For the first 40 years of my life, I had no experience even remotely resembling those of what our brothers and sisters with black and brown skin spoke about. I have had the benefit of being listened to, so I assume there must be something wrong with the way others speak to law enforcement, and that was the problem. I too had the instinct to react to those stories with disbelief. As I had no personal reference that I could draw to make that connection, I too reacted in all those implicit biases that it must be because they are breaking the law or doing something to deserve the officer's treatment they received. I had my lens, and like many of us, I gauge my lens against the lens of others' experiences and assumed my lens was the correct lens. Beg my pardon for what I am about to say next. I may come across as brazen and maybe even ruffle some feathers when I come to the issue of systematic racism and police brutality against those with black and brown skin. We as white collective have no grounds to have an opinion that rejects its reality. Just because we have not experienced it does not mean it is not reality. And in fact, the fact that we have not experienced it gives further proof to the reality that it's a racial issue. Please, my brothers and sisters, rip off those scales and become part of the solution. And we got Ralph on line one.
Yes, good evening. How are you, sir?
Good.
I wanted to share an experience that I had that was actually over 15 years ago with my best friend when I was living up in Virginia. Chris Woodson was an African-American man. He was a big guy. He was probably 6'4", 250, 275. Well, my brother in Florida, at the time he was living down in Hollywood in Broward County, he had to go into the hospital to have an operation. And I told him that I would take a ride down, and at the time he had a big dog. I would watch his dog for a couple of days, stay in his apartment. And my friend Chris, he agreed to ride down there with me. Well, at the time I was raising my two granddaughters, because that's another long story. My daughter had gotten sick, and I had to get custody. Two little girls, one 5 years old at the time, one 7 years old, drove down there in my van with, Chris and I and the two little girls. Well, we got down there to Florida. My brother went into the hospital for his operation. And Chris had said, go over and visit your brother in the hospital, and I'll take the girls out for breakfast, which he did. He took them to the IHOP down there in Hollywood, Florida. Well, when I got home, he shared a story with me. And we laughed about it. But the more I think about it, it really was not funny, because this story reflects the attitude of a lot of people, a prejudice attitude. He said to me as he went into the IHOP, the hostesses seated them, and in the booth right behind them was an elderly couple, okay, obviously a man and his wife. Well, my friend Chris overheard the lady say to her husband, "He must be the bodyguard." And you know, think about it. It's not possible he could have been a friend of the family, you see, because he was a black man. And that bothered me. And that prejudice goes way, way back. You know, and a lot of people have this attitude. What is this black man doing with these two little white girls just as white as flour? And, you know, that just bugged me. As I said, I'm 70 years old, Rudy. I could remember moving from New Rochelle, New York. I actually lived near Levittown in New Jersey for a long time. I've heard you talk about that place.
Yes.
And when I moved, I was probably only about 8 years old out of New York, and I moved down to a place called Warner Robins, Georgia, which is outside of Macon. And now I actually have memories of an elementary school teacher standing in front of the classroom and saying, you know, children, we have to study very, very hard, because every time I see a black, only she did not use the word black, she used the N-word. Every time I see them outside of the school gates, they have books under their arms. They're trying to get into our schools. Now, this was that old Southern teacher's motivation for us to study hard, to keep the blacks out of the school. You know, I could tell you 100 stories, but it just goes way back, and unfortunately, it still exists today.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Ralph.
Well, you're quite welcome, and I just wish a blessing on this country. I wish people would open their eyes and see that everybody is the same. You have a wonderful night. Thank you.
You too, Ralph. Thank you very much. So, I appreciate him sharing that story. And I hope that, let me tell you why that letter moved me so much. Because she admitted she was just like most of you. She didn't believe it. She thought it was made up. And she thought if black people were getting in trouble with the police, they brought it on themselves. Until she had the experience. And that's what she was telling you. That's what she's telling you in that letter. She said, after I had the experience, I realized how wrong I was about what I thought, because I had been living in my little bubble. And I credit her. That letter has probably gone all over this country. And I credit her for a lot of guts to come out with that. And there's even if you go out and find it, I'll just tell you what her name again is. And there's a corresponding interview on BBC where she talks to someone and they interview her about the letter. Yeah, it's a podcast, and just look up Noel Palmer, Palmer, and it's dated June 17th. If you're interested in following up on that. Okay, again, that phone number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. Let me tell you, I think some of your fears about different things are really misplaced. That's why I talked to you about the book I just finished reading, Dying of Whiteness. Well, this particular report I got was generated by the patriotic millionaires who you hear me talk about all the time. And in this, they give us some information that I want all of you to hear because it's kind of important. This is dated August 25th, 2020. Billionaires keep getting richer as the rest of America struggles through multiple crises over the past 5 months. Combined billionaire wealth has grown by $792 billion. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. In the last 5 months, billionaire growth has gone up $792 billion, or 27%. Think about that. We've got 20 million people unemployed, people sitting in food lines trying to get food, and this top percentage of people.
Now, this is just a small handful of people. Right?
Yes, this
just
is
a few of them.
Just 12.
12, yeah.
About
the size, a good size of a family.
Yes.
That's the clue, and you can research the rest, folks.
Yes, Cliff. It's 12 people gone up. Matter of fact, let me just go. I'll just skip over some of this narrative and go right to the chart. Okay.
Watch it, folks. He's getting to the good stuff now.
So why am I telling you this? You're worried about doggone immigrants coming in and stealing your jobs, and you're being fleeced right in front of your face by the fat cats. They're just cleaning your clock. And you don't want to do anything about that because you think you might become one of them one day. Well, let me just listen to this. I saw this and I was breathless. And the Patriotic Billionaires directed me to this survey, and I was absolutely breathless. On March 18th, okay, Jeff Bezos was worth $113 billion.
Sounds like one of those family names.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we all know who Jeff Bezos is. Amazon. On August 20th, this is from March 18th to August 20th, his new wealth was $194.9 billion. His wealth grew by $81.9 billion, an increase in wealth of 72.5%. In 5 months, 72.5%. And we have John on line 1. Yes, John.
Hi, good evening, Rudy. Nice to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
I was on Facebook, as per usual, and I ran across a post of about 50 individuals that they wrote on the walls at where Elvis lived in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
And they were outraged. You would think. I mean, I liked Elvis. Don't misunderstand me. But he wasn't God. And they blamed. A lot of it said Black Lives Matter on the writing on the walls. Yes, it's wrong. Maybe they shouldn't have, but they're angry. They want attention, and they certainly got it. But I posted, you should be more outraged by the men that are shot and killed with their hands in the air or in the back. You're shot in the back and isn't that. I didn't dare wait around for a response because I think they'd come looking for me, but I couldn't. Really, I just couldn't believe it. I'm talking about 50 people posted, one after the other. I couldn't keep up with it. They're more upset with the graffiti or whatever you want to call it on the walls. These are cement walls outside of.
Yeah.
What's the name of his?
I forget the name of it, and I've been there too.
Dreamland or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It just goes to show you where their heads are at, and incidentally, they're blaming the Democrats for all this too.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
it's amazing. You know what I tell them? It wasn't like this 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if they get the message or not, because it doesn't matter to them. They just whatever happens, they just go along with it or ignore it. It's pitiful,
Yeah. Well, John, thanks for calling. My
All right,
friend, I got your last message too. Thank you for that.
Okay.
All
Bye
right.
now.
Okay. Bye bye. Okay, that was Jeff Bezos. Now, this is Bill Gates. Check this out.
Just another unknown billionaire.
Right. From March 18th to August 20th, he went from 98 billion to 113.8 billion, a growth of 15.8 billion or 16.1%. Now, here's another biggie for you. Zuckerberg. We all know who Zuckerberg is, right? Facebook.
Yep.
54.7 billion grew from March 18th to August 20th to 96.5 billion, an increase of 41.8 billion for a total increase of 74.4%. How about that? 74.4%.
Couldn't he have gotten by with just a little less than that? Wow, that's phenomenal.
I want you guys to hear this. You're being fleeced, my God, and you're worried about a Mexican coming across the borders, or an immigrant coming in from a foreign country, and they're taken from you right under your nose. And here's another one of extraordinary information. Elon Musk, you know who that is? That's Tesla. Very innovative and creative guy, I will say that. On March 18th, he was worth $24.6 billion. By August 20th, now listen to this. This is important. He was worth $24.6 billion on March 18th. As of August 20th, 2020, he was worth $85.2 billion. His wealth grew by $60,600,000 for an increase of 246.5%. And you're worried about a Mexican coming to the United States? This man made $60 billion in 5 months. $60 billion. Now, don't get me wrong. For you that don't know me, I'm an entrepreneur. So I am not opposed to people making money. But some of these people on here I read to you months ago, they're not even paying any taxes. Amazon didn't pay any taxes. And he made $81 billion. How can you justify that? Now, there'll be people on here that'll call up, want to argue with me. Well, they should. No, they're not making this country great. With that kind of money, why are we 1 million people out of work? Why are people standing in food lines? If it was going to trickle down, that's a hell of a trickle down right there that was available. Did it trickle? Did it raise any boats up in the water? No, it didn't. And it won't. It just made them richer. And all of you poorer. Not on purpose, mind you, but you're poorer because the circumstances are such that money is all floating to the top, and those in the middle and the bottom are being left out. That's just the way it is. And Winnie, first of all, let me just say to you, I owe you an apology.
What happened?
The Attorney General for Kentucky is a black guy. He's a black Republican.
Right, yeah. I saw him on TV.
Yes. I told you he wasn't. I thought you were talking about the guy from Michigan, but no, that guy, he's a black guy. Yes, you're right. You were right.
Why he want him arrested? And the mayor too. The mayor, what was he, white or black?
I think the mayor was white, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But listen, what I heard. Let me tell you what.
Why he want him arrested? Make her arrest Breonna Taylor.
Well, let me tell you why. I just heard.
Attorney General and the mayor, both of them supposed to get together and make the arrest or charge the police officer, charge them.
Here's what I heard on the way here tonight.
Oh.
The deal is that they're going to make the position known after the Kentucky Derby, because the Kentucky Derby's coming up, and they don't want to make the right.
They want to make it a nice fair win for somebody.
There you go. They want to rub some greenbacks together, and they're afraid that there might be an eruption, which is not a good sign. That there may be an eruption of dissent, which could have a negative impact on the Kentucky Derby. So they're not going to make the announcement until after the Kentucky Derby. That's what I heard. Now, I don't know
to avoid major horsing around. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Now,
I like to put a real bid for with a horse.
Yeah.
I know, good joke, Chief. Yeah, but what about, I heard on CNN, I don't know how much you heard about this, Rudy. He said Donald Trump, he had a mild stroke or something.
Well, that's what they say.
Yeah,
but
you heard about that?
Yes, but
they try to cover up.
Yeah, but they're not admitting to that at all.
Huh?
They're not admitting to that at all.
Right.
You know, so yeah.
There's nothing new to the news. It was out back when it happened.
Why they put it out there? It's not true. That kind of strange.
Well, let me put it to you like this: the guy that's in the guy's book, Michael Schmidt, and he's a Pulitzer Prize winning author and writer. And I would venture to guess, if he put that out there, there's some merit to it, or else he wouldn't put it out there, because he would get sued. And everybody knows Donald Trump will sue you in the drop of a hat. So if there was no truth and no foundation in what he said, he wouldn't put it out there. I would guarantee you that. So, okay. Well, thank you, my friend.
They're going to make these three police officers going to get charged for shooting the Jacobs in the back.
I think so. But, I talked to you about this last week. The protocol, the standard MO on these shootings is delay, and try to let the temperature go down. And then after the temperature is down some, then make the verdict. That's been the ploy for, and as long as they can do it, like especially with what they did with Tamir Rice, which was an absolute disgusting outrage. A 12-year-old boy they shot at the playground with a toy. 13 months. And then they found the guy innocent. 13 months it took to get that. So they bought
they arrested the police officer after 13 months.
They didn't arrest him. He got off. But he did. That guy did not do. That guy was found innocent. It killed that 12-year-old boy. Yeah, he was. Yes, he was found innocent. Tamir Rice killer never got charged. Yeah. Well, let me run through this real quick. Yeah, Winnie, I got a couple more things to run through.
Okay.
Thank you for calling. Yeah. Okay, now, again, go ahead. I'm going to give you three more things, and the phone's ringing, and I'm going to give somebody a chance to get in here. Alice Walton, March 18th, $54.4 billion. August 20th, $62.8 billion. $8 billion increase. Jim Walton, 54.6, to 62.6, increase in $8 billion. And Robert Walton, 54.1 to 62.2, $8.1 billion increase, or 15%. And you know what that is? That's Walmart. Those are the three Walmart people. So, my friends, I'm just saying to you, I'm not for open borders. I'm not for giving away American jobs, but what I want you to do is please get your arms around what you need to be concerned about. And I don't have time to get into it tonight. But note that the Trump is now talking about reducing the capital gains tax from 20% to 15%. And even the patriotic millionaire said that is ridiculous. Because all these numbers that I just read for you and all that wealth that was just gained, most of that is capital gains. So you're exempting those capital gains when we have infrastructure needs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's going to reduce it from 20 to 15%. Now that's on the table. It hasn't been done yet. But I'm just trying to get you to really focus on what is going on here in terms of your own pocketbook and be mad at the appropriate people for what you feel is going on with your life and the pocketbook. We got people sitting in car lines for an hour to get a box of food, and we got these people. These 12 people made $1,338 billion in the last 5 months. $1 trillion, 12 people in 5 months. Folks, something you need to be aware of there. I think they can make a bigger contribution to our country and take some people off some food lines. But that's just one man's opinion.
Well, you know, the profit sharing with employees of these mega companies that have thousands and thousands of employees. That's a lot of people. Amazing.
Yes.
But that clock always wins on us, though.
Yes, it does. Well, folks, my mission tonight was to inform you, and I hope that letter inspired you.
Mission accomplished.
Yes. And I'd like to thank you so much for tuning into the African American scene. God bless and be safe, and I will see you next Wednesday right here for the African American Scene.
The African American Scene, presented each week at this time by Howard Insurance of Port St. Lucie. Tune in every Wednesday evening in the 6 p.m. hour for the African American Scene. Archives of this show are on YouTube. Go to WPSLTV.com and look for the African American Scene. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie on Google Home, Alexa, and the TuneIn app on your smartphone. It's 7 o'clock.